BamaCentral.com. I'm Joey Blackwell here with Katie Windham, and this is Just a Minute. The SEC Big 12 Challenge is kind of an annual representation of the midway point of SEC play. Obviously, you're playing a Big 12 opponent, but it's kind of sandwiched right in the middle between the first half and the second half of the SEC schedule. Alabama on Tuesday night obviously walloped Vanderbilt 101 to 44 in its most dominant SEC conference win in program history. But there's still a lot of teams left to be played in that, but the question that arises is, could this Alabama team go undefeated in conference play? Right now, they're 9-0. They have, I believe, 9 games left. So, Katie, what are your thoughts? Could this Alabama team potentially go undefeated in SEC play? And also, what are some of the games, both home and away, they think are most difficult in this final stretch?
Yeah, so with that win over Vanderbilt, they are at the halfway point of SEC games, 9-0, like you said, have 9 left. 2 years ago, that team was also 9-0 and then lost 2 games in the back half of their schedule, but still went on to win the SEC, obviously. So Alabama does not have to go undefeated in conference play to win the SEC. Is it possible for this team? I think it is. Is it likely? I don't know. I think probably the biggest game looming on the schedule is the road game at currently number 2 Tennessee in a couple weeks on a Wednesday night. That one's obviously going to be tough. I'm sure Thompson Bowling will be packed. It's going to be one of the top games in the country all year, honestly. And depending on how things shake out up until that game, it could end up being a 1 versus 2 game. More than likely, it'll definitely be a top 5 game no matter what. And then, I think as far as home games, the home schedule that's left is not looking super tough. Auburn's going to come into town. Auburn is currently ranked, but they've kind of gotten exposed a little bit lately, and they have a really tough schedule over the next 2 months. But I think that Arkansas home game on a Saturday in a couple weeks, the last Saturday of February, I believe, Arkansas is going to want revenge for that game in Bud Walton. They're kind of on the rise a little bit. They beat a Texas A&M team on Tuesday night that's been pretty hot. And so we've seen over the last couple of years this kind of NATO to Eric Musselman rivalry. We saw how intense that game was at the beginning of SEC play. So I think that one is probably the trickiest home game left on the schedule for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, I think with the 9 games remaining, I would actually circle the exact same 2 you did. I think that it's kind of not really even a question. You have that the Arkansas game coming back to Coleman Coliseum. Alabama obviously beat them pretty handily in Bud Walton. So you're going to have a fired up Eric Musselman and his team who are still trying to turn things around right now, but just haven't been able to get the wins that they need to in conference play. The road game at Tennessee, like you said, could be a potential 1-2 matchup. More than likely, it'll be a top 5 matchup. If you're looking at the SEC standings, obviously we talked about how Alabama's 9-0. Tennessee is second at 7-1. They do have a game tonight, so they will have played 9 games by the end of tonight. But outside of that, A&M is 7-2. But really, it's kind of a 2-horse race right now, even though there is only 1 game down. Obviously, if Tennessee wins that game, it's technically a tie, but Tennessee would get the tiebreaker. So that's a game that Alabama really doesn't want to lose. But Alabama can't afford a loss. They just can't afford a loss to Tennessee. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But that'll about do it for BamaCentral.com. I'm Joey Blackwell with Katie Windham. This has been Just a Minute. Thank you so much for watching.